Kathleen Eisenhardt, Wall Street can be a very scary place for investors because there are so many choices in asset classes. How can Simple Rules, the title of your book, make it more appealing?
Simple rules can make it easier for that, 40% of Americans who feel overwhelmed by the stock market. First of all, because they're simple. So it's only a few things to remember. You don't have to have a whole big rule book, just 2 or 3 things to keep in mind. The other really, I think, great thing about Simple Rules is that they take the emotion out of investing. Sometimes you get excited about, like say, investing in Chipotle because your brother-in-law did, but maybe that's not a good investment for you. So it takes the emotion out, takes some of the subjectivity out. And you also follow them. I mean, that's a key thing. I mean, if it's a complicated rule book, people won't follow it.
Well, Wall Street is full of adages and maxims, and some of them are pretty simple. So, for example, buy when there's blood in the streets. It's simple, it's a rule, but does it work?
It worked for Rothschild. Rothschild became a very, very wealthy guy with doing that. It may work for you, but it's very hard for you to tell when there's blood on the street if you're an ordinary, investor. And so it's better to have rules that are for you, things that you know. Maybe a combination of a Warren Buffett rule like only invest in what you know, with maybe a rule that works for you around timing, like you know that you're a better investor when you talk with your financial planner every quarter. So it's more about not following any particular advice, but figuring out the advice that works for you, the unique rules that fit your situation.
And what do you do when rules collide, or you need to prioritize simple rules? So, for example, some people say the trend is your friend, so you keep going with it, and other people say, well, you buy when there's blood in the streets, so you want to be a contrarian. So what do you do when those two things come into conflict?
Well, actually, prioritizing is a great point, Greg, because most people don't have priority rules. And it's actually good to have some priority rules. They're harder to learn, but they're often helpful. So, for example, you might have a priority around, you may have some special knowledge because of your family or your background about the oil industry. Maybe you grew up in Odessa, Texas or something. Then you might have a priority that anytime you see a good deal in the oil industry because you track that industry, you go for it, even if maybe it wasn't your investment goal.
And when do you throw the rule book out? A lot of people talk about Netflix turning cable TV and the whole TV industry on its ear. So when is it time to say, you know something, this whole rule book is just gone?
I think the rule book's gone when it's not working for you. When the market is up and you're not, it's time to change. Maybe you got to change your asset classes and change the rules. Or you change when your world is different. You were hitting 60 and you realize you got to start thinking about retirement, or maybe even 50. You start thinking about retirement. So when the environment changes for you, when your rules aren't working, that's time to change.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kathleen.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching The Street.